This is the NIV Grace and Truth Study Bible, and we are recovering. Oh, whoops. I'm going to record this video in order to practice my English, trying to be more accurate in the pronunciation. It is a beautiful Bible, one of the most beautiful Bibles, really beautiful. These are the colors of the Southern Baptist community or institute, which Dr. MOHLER where Dr. MOHLER is the president. Let us read, for example, from Genesis, the lives of Sarah, in Genesis, in the book of Genesis, Abraham tested the death of Sarah. In the Hebrew studies, in the Jewish studies, it's called the lives, in plural, the lives of Sarah. And we can find it in the chapter 23, Genesis 23, Here we go. How nice and beautiful every page. It is not in black color, it is blue, deep blue, the letter font. The death of Sarah. Sarah lived to be 127 years old. She died at Kiryat Arba, that is Hebron, in the land of Canaan. And Abraham went to mourn for Sarah and to weep over her. Then Abraham rose from beside his dead wife and spoke to the Hittites. He said, I am a foreigner and stranger among you. Sell me some property for a burial site Sell me some property for a burial site here, so I can bury my dead. The Hittites replied, The Hittites replied to Abraham, Sir, listen to us. You are a mighty prince among us. Bury your dead in the choicest of your tombs. None of us will refuse you his tomb for burying your dead. Then Abraham rose and bowed down before the people of the land, the Hittites. He said to them, If you are willing to let me bury my dead, then listen to me and intercede with Ephron, son of Zohar, on my behalf. So he will sell me the cave of Machpelah, which belongs to him and is at the end of his field, ask him to sell it to me for the full price as a burial site among you. Ephron the Hittite was sitting among his people, and he replied to Abraham in the hearing of all the Hittites who had come to the gate of this city. "No, my lord," he said, "listen to me. I give you the field, and I give you the cave that is in it. I give it to you in the presence of my people. Bury your dead." Again, Abraham bowed down before the people of the land, and he said to Ephron in their hearing, "Listen to me, if you will. I will pay the price of the field. Accept it from me, so I can bury my dead there." Ephron answered Abraham, "Listen to me, my lord. The land is worth 400 shekels of silver. But what is that between you and me? Bury your dead." Abraham agreed to Ephron's terms and weighed out for him the price he had named in the hearing of the Hittites, 400 shekels of silver, according to the weight current among the merchants. So Ephron's field in Machpelah, near Mamre, both the field and the cave in it, and all the trees within the borders of the field, was deeded to Abraham and his property, as his property, in the presence of all the Hittites who had come to the gate of the city. Afterward, Abraham buried his wife Sarah in the cave of the field of Machpelah, near Mamre, which is at Hebron, in the land of Canaan. So the field and the cave in it were deeded to Abraham by the Hittites as a burial site. Sarah is 127 years old when he dies. Hers is the shortest natural lifespan recorded in Genesis. At the time of Sarah's death, Isaac was 37 and Abraham was 137. Abraham knows of some local Hittites, probably not the people group from Asia Minor, but one more closely linked to the Canaanites, who own land, and he wishes to purchase a grave for his wife. He has in mind the cave of Machpelah, which a local resident named Ephron owns. The cave's name suggests that it was double cave, suggesting either that it had two entrances or two chambers. The purchase of the land takes place within the city gate, where there are many witnesses. Abraham and Ephron negotiate the price with exaggerated generosity and politeness, as was a standard method of bargaining in the ancient world. The final price of 400 shekels is exorbitant when we remember that life cost of a slave at that time was 20 shekels. And much later, King David paid 50 shekels, a good price, for both the temple land and animals for sacrifice. Abraham owns land for the first time and thus becomes a permanent resident of the land. The narrative places great emphasis on the final transaction and Abraham's legal status as an official owner of a title deed of land in Canaan. This is the only land that Abraham receives while he is alive, and it is a grave for his wife. Then, let us read now from the New Testament. Or maybe from Micah. This is the book of Micah. It's kind of heavy, this Bible, but it's beautiful. I'm trying to hold the Bible this way because I want to pronounce better each word and breathe, and I want to kind of exaggerate a little bit the emphasis for me to pronounce clearly each word. I'm just practicing. This is just a private video, but you are very welcome. Micah's name means who is like the Lord, and his prophecy answers this question emphatically. No one. Michael spells out the incomparability of the Lord by proclaiming the Lord's character, what he has done, what he will do, and how his people should live in response. Micah is set in the latter third of the 8th century BC during the reigns of the Judean kings Jotham, Ahaz, and Hezekiah. Prior to this, the northern and southern kingdoms of Israel has experienced a period of relative peace and prosperity. This quickly changed after the death of King Uzziah, when the threat of Assyrian invasion grew and the relationship between Israel and Judah became more volatile. Micah lays bare the serious predicament facing Israel and Judah. Foundational for Micah, as for other prophets, is Israel's covenant relationship with the Lord, undergirding the national covenant is the Exodus, when God redeemed the Israelites from Egypt to be his people. Behind the Exodus are the promises God made to Abraham and to Isaac and to Jacob of land, descendants, and blessing mediated to other nations. Israel's election and salvation by grace were great privileges that included the responsibility to live as a holy nation, keeping the requirements of the national covenant, so that God's glory might be displayed to all nations of the earth. Micah explains the nature of true worship. True worship does not involve multiplying offerings. It is acting justly, loving mercy, and walking humbly with God. This has a parallel with 1 Samuel 15:22 and echoes the requirements of the Torah. Ultimately, Micah, like the other prophets, calls the Israelites back to relationship with the Lord in order to live in the light of the great salvation, of his great salvation. Calls the Israelites back to relationship with the Lord in order to live in the light of his great salvation. Micah also shows so clearly as any prophet how rejection. Micah also shows as clearly Take 3. Micah also shows as clearly as any prophet how rejection of God and his ways leads to social disintegration. He identifies the sins of idolatry, prostitution, theft of land and other property, greed, injustice, violence, and corruption, and fraudulent business dealings. True prophets are rejected, and false prophets are well fed. All this is incompatible with being God's chosen people. So Micah bravely proclaims the coming judgment of the Lord. When Jeremiah was under attack about a century later, Micah was cited in his defense as an example of a prophet that rightly preached God's coming judgment on Jerusalem. Yet Micah also speaks marvelously of salvation for a remnant on the other side of judgment. The book of Micah is a fine example of the gospel God promised beforehand through his prophets. Romans 1:2. Micah contains key elements of the New Testament gospel: the sovereignty of the Lord over all the earth, the universality of human rebellion, the certainty of God's punishment of sin, the mercy and compassion of God in offering forgiveness of sin, a future age of salvation beyond judgment when a remnant of God's people find great blessing in Jerusalem, the inclusion of people from the nations who acknowledge the Lord, the exclusion and punishment of those who foolishly set themselves against the Lord and his people, and the centrality of a future Davidic king in this future age. Micah also illustrates the appropriate response to the gospel, faith seen particularly in prayer and praise. And Micah begins. Chapter 1.